Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for bearing with us. It's just gone 3 o'clock, so we will kick off our webinar today. First of all, you're very welcome, everybody. I know everybody is very busy. We appreciate you giving up the time to be with us today. We're delighted we have over 210 or 214, I think, registered for today's webinar, so a huge attendance, so very much appreciated. We appreciate everyone giving up your time, and we hope you enjoyed today's case study. My name, for anyone who doesn't know me, is James Byrne. I'm a digital marketing manager with Columbia Ireland, and I'm also the chair of the Retail Excellence e-commerce committee. And the e-commerce committee is a voluntary group. We're made up of members of Retail Excellence and partners, and people volunteer their time. And our objective as a group is to help raise the bar for e-commerce and retail in Ireland. And webinars like today are one of the ways that we do that. So I'd like to say a big thank you to one of our members, Elverys, and one of our partners, Wolfgang, who have kindly given their time to put on today's webinar for us. So you won't have to listen to me for too long. Today's webinar is one of 3 webinars where we are looking at case studies from some of Ireland's best known retailers. So today we have Elvery's. Next week we have a webinar with Meaghers Pharmacies from their agency Core Optimisation. And the following week, which is the 3rd webinar in the series, we are going to be looking at Tony Keeley's nursery retailer with their agency Social Media Elite. If you're already registered, if you're on the call today, you're registered for all 3. So just join us again next Thursday and the following Thursday at the same time, 3 o'clock. Before I have one slide just to go through before I hand you over to the team from Wolfgang, which is just to tell you a little bit about e-commerce Europe. One of the I suppose one of the goals of us in Retail Excellence is to lobby for Irish retail and Irish online retail, both in Ireland and in Europe. And one of the ways we do it in Europe is through our membership of e-commerce Europe. So that's a full-time lobby group based in Brussels. And they are working on things like VAT harmonization, data protection, payment processing, producer environmental responsibility processes. So big, heavy, meaty projects, some of them take decades to come to fruition, but they are working there on our behalf all of the time. And one of the reports that they produce is this one here, which is a pan-European e-commerce report. It has a retail value, they tell us, of €1,000, and that's available free of charge to any Retail Excellence members. So we will include it in an upcoming members update, or if you would like a copy, just get in contact with one of us. So with that, I would like to introduce you to the speakers in today's webinar. So we're being joined by Kenia Gonzalez and Roisin Linnie from Wolfgang Digital, which I would imagine needs a little introduction. It's one of Ireland's top digital marketing agencies. The presentation will be about 25 minutes long. We're going to kick off with Kenia. Kenia is a senior client lead in Wolfgang. So she works across integrated marketing campaigns for clients like Tesco, O'Brien's Wines, and Elvery's, who are with us today. And then Kenia will be handing over to Roisin. Roisin is head of social at Wolfgang, and she works with clients like Littlewoods, Dublin Airport, and Brown Thomas, so some of the biggest retailers in Ireland. And then after the presentation, we're going to be joined by Mark Newcomb, and Mark is the digital marketing manager in Elvery's. Mark is kindly joining us today as well, so that we can prove that everything that's said is true, and he will be answering any questions you have at the end, along with Kenia and Roisin. So please be free with your questions. Please use the Q&A box or the chat box. Q&A is better, if possible. So ask any questions you like. You can ask them throughout the presentations. You can hold them to the end, but keep them coming. And we'll ask as many as we can get to at the end. That will last about 15 minutes for the Q&A, and we should have you out of here within about 14 minutes. The presentations will all be available, will be sent to you afterwards, and will all be available on YouTube for playback as well. So without further ado, and apologies in advance if we have any technology problems, because we have had a few, so please bear with us if we do. I am going to hand over now to Kenia, who is going to take us through the presentation.
Thanks so much, James. I will share my screen, so bear with me. Okay. Okay. I hope all of you can see this now as a presentation mode. Thank you for the introduction. As James mentioned, my name is Kenia, and Roisin and I will be taking you through this case study that we had with Elverys. And we are really happy to be here with you with Retail Excellence. And I think this case study is something that might be valuable for you as well. So today we will present on how insights can reshape your digital strategy. And we choose this topic especially now because we do think that in these uncertain times, data insights are becoming the key to overcome and adapt this new conversion environment that we have and are helping us to make better business decisions. So before we start with the case story, I will just like to introduce briefly our client, Elverys. As you might know, they are Ireland's oldest sports store. They've been in Ireland for a long time. They have a wide number of products available. They do sportswear, footwear, and also home gym equipment. They've been in Ireland like for a long time, but we've been working with them just for a couple of years. We started working with them in, I think it was the last Q of 2018. So basically last year, 2019, was all about learning about them and learning about what they do and what was their core audience. So we will start there on what was the first insight that we actually learned about their audience last year. So when we start working with them, we naturally assume that the best demographic that we would be targeting would be men's. As you know, like they have lots of sort of sports products. Some of them are jerseys for FAA and RFU. So we thought naturally that men will be the core audience for them. But when we started digging up a little bit the data, and we had a couple of months of data to see, we started seeing that actually women were the ones that were performing better for them, at least in the online side of things. When we compare the data from paid search campaigns, we noticed that women were more engaged with the ads. They were 38% more likely to convert, so they were having higher conversion rates, which this means that if we had to choose where to invest our money, we would know that it was easier to get a sale from a woman than for a man. Also, it was cheaper. It was 30% cheaper to get that sale, and they contribute with a higher ROAS. This means that it was not only cheaper to get a sale from them, but they will spend more with the brand. So if you want to run the same analysis, I invite you to go and look at your analytics, or in this case, where we found the data in Google Ads, you can go to the AdWords interface and jump there and select the gender there. So you can actually start visualizing what are the difference between genders. You can do it as well by time of day, age, and lots of different other features like locations. So with these first insights, we actually discovered that women were most effective in terms of targeting. So we share this targeting and these insights with our social team as well. And since then, since 2019, we started incorporating more bidding strategies focused to women. So let's say we will tell Google, if we only have certain budgets, please prioritize women over men, because we knew that it was cheaper to convert them and we will have a better return on the back. So that was the first insight when we started our relationship with Elverys, and that was good to have. But then things, as you have seen, have changed a lot in 2020. So the second insight that we got it through the industry insights now that everything related with COVID-19 was happening when the pandemic hit Ireland. That was our second insight. So for those of you that don't know, we run an e-commerce report. This is called On the Money. And before, at the beginning of the pandemic, we started doing this report in weekly basis. Now we're doing monthly basis. So as you can see here in the first, I don't know if you can see it, but where the lines are there, they are representing the revenue and the traffic. And as soon as the lockdown happened in Ireland, we start seeing a rise in traffic going to websites that were focused on retail. And therefore, we start as well seeing an increase in revenue. So what this was telling us is that there was more demand online than before. We were having the same levels of demand, for instance, that we were seeing in Christmas and in Black Friday. So maybe for some of you that work in retail, you could actually you saw maybe a hit in your revenue figures and your in-store, because of course with the lockdown no one was able to visit your stores were closed. But some of that audience that maybe before used to go and shop in store start shopping online because there wasn't any other option available. So we start noticing this pattern there. If you want to learn more about how this online economy is looking nowadays in July, you can actually see the latest report that we have. You only need to go to our website. It is there, wolfanddigital.com, and scroll down and subscribe to our newsletter, and you will receive this report with this data that I have hidden there. The only reason that I did that is because the data that we will be looking after or today is just that first time when the lockdown happened. So, okay, we were seeing that there was that increase in demand online, and the next step that we needed to figure it out was what is people actually buying, like what that they are actually searching, where is this revenue increase coming from. As James mentioned, we work with lots of different clients, so it was really fun to see the data and to see what the numbers were telling us, to try to map out that change in behavior from the user. So as the time progresses, I think that we were able to see that people were buying different things. I don't know if you remember, but when the lockdown happened, I think like everyone went to panic mode, and the thing that we were buying the most in March was, not surprising, toilet paper, lots of it. And I think like that was like the beginning of how we felt as well. We didn't know what's going to happen, and I think we thought, okay, I can maybe live without certain things but not without toilet paper. So the toilet paper revenue went to the roof. Then after that, in April, probably in our minds was, well, not for you that work in retail. I think for people that work in retail, you were really stressed trying to get those sales in from different channels. But for the other people that maybe that retail is not their main market and they are just consumers on your eyes, I think like we were a little bit of feeling that this might be a holiday kind of break, because we didn't go to work. Maybe for some, it was the first time that they were doing remote working, right? So there was a shift in behavior, and that shift in behavior also brought a shift in consumption. So we started to consume more alcohol. The sales for wines and beer went to the roof in April, and that was in April. So toilet paper, then alcohol, and I think after 2 months of lockdown, we didn't see the light for a while, and I think we had a look at the mirror and say, what the fuck is going on? I might need a haircut. And it happened. All the clippers, scissors were again up to the roof. And this was the other change. I think like every month we were seeing a change on what people were buying. And this was really tied with what we were living at the time during the lockdown. So I think by May or even the late April, we start seeing that, well, maybe we couldn't sustain that way of living. Maybe having a glass of wine every night, it wasn't healthy. So we start to think about ourselves. And by May, we start seeing an increase in searches. So people actually going online, looking for tips on workouts that they could do at home, uh, free yoga classes. So I think like we wanted to go back to normal, and we were trying to get those habits that maybe we used to have and try to incorporate them now in our new situation, in our environment, in our homes. So with that, we start seeing a rise as well in other products that would complement those activities. So yoga mats, weights, and also runners. So this is more or less like how the consumer purchase behavior was changing, and it was changing because of the circumstances, I think, that we were living. So if you want now to run this exercise and see maybe what are the products that might become a little bit trending now, you can do it as well. This is what we did with Elverys. The only thing that you need to do is go to Google Trends. That's available for anyone, and start adding there the products or the categories that you are interested in. So for Elverys, we start trying with different products that they have in their website. One of them, the one that I think stood up more, was leggings. And this, I think, is really important if you run the exercise with your inventory, because it can help you to realize if there is a business opportunity there. What we were saying with Elverys is that leggings, the demand, people looking for that product, went up during the lockdown. It was as high as the same levels that they have seen during Black Friday peak. So we communicate these insights to the client, and it was really good to communicate them soon in time, because we needed to adapt not only the strategy, but they needed to adapt as well their supply and make different decisions. So as a digital marketer, I think it's really easy for us to say, here's the data and this is an opportunity, go for it, we will put the budget here. But we need to start thinking on the business side of things. Data can tell us one story, but the business side of things is really important as well to have in mind. And these are the kind of conversations that we were having with Elverys. We were testing and we were seeing what products we saw that demand was up, but then we were confronting those products with their margins. So is it a product that is going down, up, and has small margins? Is a product that is going up, but actually we don't have a stock available, or now we have a stock available, but then I already talked with my suppliers and they are not going to be able to cope with the demand, so I don't want to promote that product. So we did this exercise with them, and we selected some products that make sense from the data insights and from the demand that we were seeing online, and also business sense and commercial sense for Elverys. And this is something that you can do as well. The next one, it will help you as well to plan budgets. Maybe you have a small budget now, but if you see that there is an increase in demand and that you have enough stock to supply it or to cope with it, you will need a little bit more budget to cope as well with that demand in your digital marketing strategies. So this is another way that these insights can help you to plan a little bit more in these uncertain times. Finally, I think it can also help you to plan your content production and your creative production. Maybe you have pieces of content that are there and living in your website that you can repurpose, or you need more creative assets to actually match the products that are now high in demand. And this is something that Roisin will touch base later on in a little bit. So what we learned from here, what was our second insight? Our second insight from the industry was that there was a change in the product demand online. And it was tied in with the restrictions that we were seeing due to COVID-19, and also with the new reality and with the new routines that we were making for ourselves when we were in lockdown. And personally, another learning that I got from here is that jeans are overrated. At least I haven't used them in a while, and I think leggings are my new best friend now. So I will pass it to Roisin now, and she will explain you how we implement these insights into our digital strategy.
Thank you, Kenia. Cool. So yes, I'm going to talk to you a bit about today how we changed our strategy based on all those insights that Kenia just brought you through. Yeah, so one of the first things we had to do was be really agile and respond to trends, but also to communicate a lot with the client. So the graph on the left is an example of searches for home gym. You can see right out in March, it really peaked quite high. Of course it did, because gyms closed, so everyone was trying to work out at home. Now, from our point of view, of course, we'd recommend then, okay, we need to push out home gyms and capitalize on this demand. But once we spoke to Elverys, they fed back to us that actually they were suffering from stock issues in this category, because the demand was just so high that they actually couldn't keep up with the stock levels. So of course, then we had to figure out, okay, if we can't promote home gyms, what can we promote? What's going to have okay stock and what can be easily delivered? Next slide, Kenia. Thanks. So yeah, so this is back to Kenia's initial insight that we started to look at other categories that were seeing rises in demand. A lot of these were related to running. A lot of people took up running during lockdown. So we started to see increase in sports bras and leggings, and there was no issues with stock in these. And as I said, they were, you know, smaller items that were very easy to deliver. So we had to completely reshift our strategy to focus on these categories. Next. Here's a sample strategy for a sports bra that we would have ran on social channels. So this is kind of showing you a full funnel approach. So on the left, it was a promoted blog post. We're really lucky that Elverys had lots of great content on their site. So they already had an article written about sports bra and finding the right size for you. So Elverys repurposed this content and we pushed it out as an ad that drove them to the blog. Once they'd been to the blog, they're added to an audience and we could show them lots more content. So for example, this influencer content talking about their favorite sports brand leggings. And once they viewed that, they were added to another audience where we encouraged them to come back to the website and purchase. So here we were looking at showcasing them the actual products that we wanted them to purchase. And next slide, Kenia. Yeah, so the same for leggings applied, the same strategy. So similar to sports bras, they had some great content already on the site that was repurposed. So this was a leggings guide to find the perfect leggings for you. Again, we drove traffic to this blog, and once they'd landed on this blog, they were added to an audience, and we could then show them the leggings in action, which is the ad you see in the middle, which has a nice piece of creative, and then a USP with the mesh inserts, and then also the products underneath where you can go and view them and purchase them on the site. Of course, once you'd been to the site and you'd view the leggings and the sports bras, if you didn't purchase, you were added to an audience and we'd remarket to you through dynamic product ads, which is the ad you see on the right. Thanks, Kenia. Yeah, so although, you know, these products were in high demand, so any retailer that was selling these sports products or gym equipment was advertising them on social media. So it meant that it was quite competitive. So it was really important that for Elverys, we use some innovative ad formats to stand out on that newsfeed. So one example of this is a video poll ad. So this is a Facebook video where you overlay a poll ad and you can ask any question and there's obviously an option of 2 answers. The reason why this is an amazing format is, first of all, it stands out and users do actually tend to answer that. The engagement rate is very, very high. But the great thing is you can actually collect the answers as audiences. So for example, we asked, let's be honest, are you wearing leggings for working out at home or watching Netflix? And we're able to then collect the audiences based on the Netflix leggings wearers or the working out leggings wearers. So unsurprisingly, 54% of people actually said they wear leggings to watch Netflix. And I absolutely am here for that and I totally agree with that one. So that was a great insight. And I'm going to tell you a little bit later on about how we use that insight later in the campaign as well. Another ad format we utilized a lot is the collection ad. Now this is great for a few reasons. It actually combines multiple stages of the funnel. So you've got your piece of creative, which can be a video or an image or a lifestyle image, which is, you know, typically more upper funnel. And then you've got your products underneath, which is a great example of bottom of the funnel remarketing ads. And by putting them in the same ad format, you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone, which was really important for this campaign because, you know, we were responding quickly to demand. So we didn't necessarily have a long lead-in time and a long funnel length. So combining them in this ad format was really effective. Next slide. Yeah, as Kenia already mentioned this, we reallocated budget to focus on women's categories on social in particular. And we also ensured that we had more creative, so images featuring women and women's products as well. Yeah, so integration with social and PPC was really important. So we've spoken a bit about Google Trends, and we could see that a lot of people were going to Google to look up sports bra, leggings, workout tips, and we obviously then would run PPC ads in response to that. So for example, if someone typed sports bra into Google, there'd be an Elverys PPC ad, and if that person clicked on this ad, went to the site but didn't purchase, they were added to an audience that we could show content to on social. So this just meant that we were integrating the 2 channels for a nice seamless user journey, but it also just allowed us to capture a highly qualified audience, one that's likely to purchase. So we showcase them an ad on social and then direct them back to the website. Thanks, Kenia. We also did some integration with display. So here's the poll ad I mentioned previously. So as I said, 54% of people said they actually wore leggings to watch Netflix. The images you see on the right, they're example of two different display ads. So the one on the left was the original one where we were saying trying a new exercise routine. And after the result of the poll, we switched up the copy and said for exercise and comfort, for running, yoga, or streaming your favorite shows, find the best leggings for Euro 2020. So we actually incorporated the insight from the poll ad into a Google display ad. I think that's a really good example of how you can share insights across channel. Thanks. So yeah, so that's kind of the main shifts we had in our strategy. And before I pass you back to Kenia for the results of this campaign, I just want to give you a few tips on where you can find insights. So if you guys were, planning after this webinar to go and dig into some of your insights, these are the top places that we'd recommend. So the first place to go, we've mentioned it a lot today, Google Trends. It's free, it's really easy to use, and gives you a nice overview of trending topics. The second is, if you want a bit more detail as to what people are actually searching for, you can do some keyword research using the keyword planner. So here you can maybe find out things, what people are searching for when they search for sports bras. Is it like, comfortable sports bra, cheap sports bra? And it'll just give you lots more information on what the keywords actually are. Yeah, so audience insights is going to be really important. If you're running PPC and social, we recommend using Google Analytics and social page insights as well. So you will get lots of information on age, gender, location, and we recommend using both for these because what you might find these are quite different. So for example, your Facebook page fans or page engagers might be more female, but maybe then when you check your Google Analytics, you might see that males have a higher conversion rate. So this insight would be, very important because then you can actually, reshape your social strategy, and maybe you need to place more budget on targeting males on social if they're higher conversion. So there sometimes can be different, but that can provide a really valuable insight. The behavior section in Google Analytics is great. You can find top performing pages, particularly important if you have a blog. So you can see if there's any blogs, even old blogs that are starting to gain traction again, you can then repurpose them and push them out to paid as well. Also in the behavior tab, you've got your search terms. Now, this is great because this shows what people were searching. If you have a search bar on your website, what they were actually searching within that search bar. It's great for obviously just an indicator of what people want and what people are looking for, but it also might indicate maybe a navigation issue on your site. If you sell sports bras, for example, and people are constantly searching in the search tab, maybe it means it's not prominent enough and needs to go onto the homepage. So lots of insight to be found there as well. And last but not least, there's also the conversion section in Google Analytics, which is a great place to go for product performance. So you can see what products you're actually selling that week and that day. Again, loads of insight here. You might be surprised with what's actually peaking and when. Sorry, that's kind of cut out a little bit, but yeah, the final place we recommend going to find insights is on social media. So you can use polling ads. Polling ads are available on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn very recently. So it's a great way if you have a very simple question that only has 2 answers. It's a great way to get very quickly some insights about your audience. If you want to know a bit more, the question sticker is brilliant. Now, this is only through Instagram stories and it is organic only, but it's really helpful. For example, you could post on your stories, what's the main thing you look for when purchasing a pair of leggings? And you might get some great responses. For example, maybe people say they're not high-waisted enough or they fall down, for example. So this is a, really, really informative insight, because then you can use this in your copy going forward. You can say these leggings are high-waisted, won't slip, will stay put, so you can use the question box as a great way to get insights that you can then use in your campaigns as well. I'm going to pass it back over to Kenia now, who's going to bring you through the results of this campaign.
And do we have your audio, Kenia? Just bear with us for a moment, folks. Kenia is being so good to us today. She's dialing in from Italy, where she's on interrupting her holidays for us. I think we heard the seagulls in the background there for a second. So just give us a second as we work through the tech.
Hey there, I'm back. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now, Kenia. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you. Let's go back to that slide there. Yes, thank you, Roisin, again. So I was saying that we look at the data in analytics. We segment the data as well by gender, female and male. And we start noticing that on the back of this changing strategy, we saw an increase on revenue coming from women, 127%. As you can see at the beginning, in January, we didn't see much of a difference. But then when we start incorporating those shifts in our digital strategy from March onwards, we could actually see that that gap was increasing and that revenue coming from women was increasing too. I just look at some of the questions as well there. There was a question of where is the best place to choose insights for the gender. Is it Google Ads or is it analytics? I will say use both of them. Compare them a little bit as well, because remember that this only takes a part of your full data. So it is important that you are comparing both of them. At the end of the day, you are not looking for hard numbers when you want to find an insight. You are looking to see a trend, and that's where you can find them in either one or the other one. So if we want to focus now on that example that Roisin as well was taking you through of the leggings, we could actually see that the revenue for this product in particular increased massively, increased to 462%. So that's, I think, a whopper way of showing that a reshape digital strategy can actually impact the sales of certain products. And a way of actually looking at your data of the products would be, again, go to your analytics and filter by product. In here, you can see that we were filtering for tights or leggings. And the blue lines that you see there is the revenue, how revenue was changing depending on the month that we were at. We run this campaign in April, and we can see that in May and June, where that spike in our search demand that we shared with you before was going up, our revenue as well started to go up on the back of this strategy. So before I leave you, I want to leave you with 3 key takeaways. The first one is use your data to guide you. You might discover new things that you didn't know about your own audience, and this can help you to reshape that digital strategy that you have, and also to find new business opportunities. The second one, ensure that your digital strategy is in line with the industry trends and act fast. I think that the retailers that start acting a little bit faster than others were the ones that stood in a better position in this lockdown. Have a chat as well with your digital agency and try to have a partner that is beyond digital, that also is understanding your business and can help you to leverage those insights in a way that actually is profitable for you. And lastly, integrate your PPC and social. Try to make that experience seamless so that people that see you for the first time in social actually start searching for you, and then you have a place where you can actually capture them and convert them and make them your lasting clients. So thank you so much, guys. I think that's it from me, and we will go to the Q&A now and pass it back to James. Okay.
That's great. Thank you very much, Kenia. Just share my screen. And hopefully Philip will work some magic to put people's cameras on. Thank you so much for the presentation, guys. Really appreciate it. And Kenia, as I mentioned, thanks to you in particular for joining us from far afield and interrupting your holidays. We do appreciate it. So I might jump in first of all with a question of my own, and just to remind everybody, the Q&A box is open, as they say. So please don't be shy, ask some questions. They can be directly related to the presentation, or if you have something else on your mind within reason, please do ask us. So the first question I have is, like, COVID-19 has brought enormous changes to everybody's lives, so as well as our personal lives and consumers' lives, also to our working lives and ways of working. And obviously that coincided with this huge growth in demand for online. So I'd like to ask, I suppose maybe to all three, whoever wants to take it, like how did that affect your client relationship, and how did you develop new ways of working through all of this increased demand and all these personal changes?
Yeah, I can take that.
I might throw it to Mark. Yeah, thanks, Mark.
Yeah. So I suppose I work really closely with Wolfgang for the last 2 years, and I think what brought, I suppose, our relationship really closer was the fact that online became kind of the sole focus for the business. The end of March, like 55 of our stores closed down overnight. So I think, the business focus came sharply onto online. So I think it can also provide us an opportunity to highlight to the business, even more so how important online is to our stores as well. So yeah, I think in terms of planning, the big thing we found from lockdown was that normally in Elverys, we would plan our months and quarters and even our year in advance. I think the big learning here with Wolfgang as well is reacting kind of on the spot. So, so leaving some room for reactivity. And I suppose when customers were in a state of flux, it was important that we had content that matched the intent and demand. So as the guys mentioned, like, repurposing old content we had, but, talking to the customer in the now, as opposed to maybe the relevant content that was there a few months ago or a year or two ago. So, yeah, and also I suppose the thing for our relationship was sharing insights. So we have our own social team internally here in Elverys. I think the great thing with working with Wolfgang was that those insights were shared with our teams internally, and then we could then put those, into our campaigns and working with ambassadors and influencers during that time. It kind of made sure that everyone was on the same page. Because I suppose, like most businesses seem to be, working in silos at times. I think, again, another learning from us was like our teams were more flexible than ever before. So our buying teams, our social teams, our customer service, all kind of rallied together. I think that's, from my point of view, it's getting everyone on the same page. Ultimately, the customer journey doesn't start or stop with digital. It's an omni-channel, approach. So when the stores reopened, I think we had a lot of learnings, definitely in the online and social teams as well.
Super, thanks very much for that, Mark. And how has it been, I guess, since the stores have reopened? All your stores are reopened now, right? Pretty much, yeah. I think we've 5 left to open, but yeah, the majority are opened. Yeah, like stores are going really well. I think it's again, for online, for us, it's to be the kind of point of, I suppose, reference that we're encouraging our customers to look online, to research online, to minimize their time in store, but equally when they get in store that our staff, that are aware they have research done, so they're always helping them on their journey as well. So I think, yeah, online to become more than just a store, that it's actually kind of a portal or a destination before they go in store to do their research and look at their blogs and read up on the products themselves. Okay, great. Thanks, Mark. I have another question in from Donny Vaughan, also in the West, a neighbour of yours there, Mark, I think. Sure is, yeah. Donny has asked, and this is probably a question for Kenia maybe, is in Google Analytics, it shows the gender breakdown, but it's usually only 30% of total traffic. And in Google AdWords, is the gender breakdown is a higher percentage of overall traffic generally. So is this a more accurate representation of gender breakdown?
I think you need to see all data points there. So if you have available, you can actually see and compare them and see if there is a difference between the two of them, like in terms of any types of discrepancy. I would recommend you to just look at the two of them. At the end of the day, for these kind of things, you are not looking to get a solid number. You're looking to more or less see the trends, because a solid trend can then help you predict what type of results you will get at scale. So I would say, regardless of the platform that you use, if you have both sources available, compare them, check them, and then make your own conclusions on the back of that data.
Okay, very good. And another question, it's probably related, Kenia, to what you've answered there, but it's just a query as to how reliable are the gender insights in Google Analytics. The person who's asked this question has said that 60-70% of the time in their experience, all the users are classified as unknown. So I guess they have doubts as to the accuracy there. Yeah, so if it's classified as unknown, you wouldn't even see then the data when you have it breakdown. So I think it's just the same answer to the last question. Don't take this number as this is a number, this is a solid number. There is 2 female actually buying this product. Take it as an overall, just a guideline that can actually be an insight to fit your
strategy. The other thing that you can do, if you have this available, I don't know, if you have your customer database, that will be more reliable, because then you can actually match your sales with a gender, and maybe you have that in the back of your website, or that's something that sits with another team, and you can actually ask for those insights, and that might be like more reliable, because you know that, like, I'm Kenia, I'm a female, and I'm buying this certain product, and then that will help you as well.
Okay, great. Thanks, Kenia.
No worries.
A question in for Mark. Mark, how did you use the inside information provided by the Wolfgang team, and could you give a few examples of that?
Yeah, actually, I think across the business, I think the first thing that comes to mind is actually our buying strategy. So going back to home gym, I think we saw that home gym demand was phenomenal. I mean, obviously our treadmills, ellipticals, weights flew out the door. Demand was there, and we just matched that demand. But I think looking at what search trends were coming, week on week, I suppose our buyers would work a lot in advance. They'd place their buys months ahead. So I think during lockdown, we had to place buys really reactively. So the insights that Wolfgang shared in terms of search trends across Ireland, we could react really quickly to that. And that was great. And then in terms of our own content, the insights to be really relevant in that time. Like, I mean, again, we plan in advance, but sometimes it's great to actually to dip into the here and now and see what's live and what's happening. And then I suppose the learnings for us again was the speed. I mean, normally we would, be right considered in the way we approach things, but again, I think now we have to be a bit more flexible and imaginative in how we created content, and repurposing was a big one for us. So rather than scrap it all, we had to kind of look at older content and make it really relevant to now. Real life examples, would be, I suppose, our running and training. The likes like the leggings example would be a big one, where we knew ourselves that it's always a big category, but we really, for those few weeks, really ramped up our activity, and then I would have fed that into our to our content teams, to our creative teams, and I suppose even the buying teams, as I mentioned previously.
Okay, thanks, Mark. The next question here I think is for yourself as well, Mark, and it's reminded me of a conversation I had with one of our own finance people this morning, because this is ultimately what it all comes down to. So if legging conversions increase by, say, the example here is 450%, how is the profit from this qualified against your digital marketing spend?
Yeah, good question. It's funny, I think the last 2 years with Wolfgang, we've really focused on, I suppose, just driving revenue and really growing as a business. But I think the next phase for us is looking at margin and looking at products that, while they might have, I suppose, wide or big revenues, sometimes the margin mightn't be as strong. So I think the next phase for us in terms of, I suppose, scaling up is to look at margin rather than just revenue on its own. So I think, going forward, we'll be looking at how margin affects our digital marketing, and there was a ROAS as well in terms of that. We would focus on return on ad spend, looking at revenue, but I think the profit ROAS will be kind of going forward, be the one we need to focus on. Okay,
thanks, Mark. Roisin, a question in for you. Now, you have answered this in the Q&A box, but I will just ask it anyway, which is that the insights from the channel and pages themselves, or sorry, I'm reading your answer, apologies. So the audience insights for social media, do you recommend a particular software program, or do you recommend people use the analytics native to each of the social media channels?
Yeah, to be honest, the information that's on each of the channels is great, and I definitely recommend going with the page insights you have. If you have an ad account, of course, you're going to get audience insights for people who engage with your ads as well. On all social channels, this is available, and it's really strong. Yes, there are lots of tools that are usually quite expensive, where it kind of just takes all this data and puts it in a really kind of, I guess, pretty way and easy to digest way. So we've used both, but to be honest, I think what you get in the back end of your social pages is really good. And if you want something that you can maybe package up nicer, then the tools are great. There's not one that I would definitely recommend. There's so many, but there's lots out there, but certainly the free option is still really good.
Okay, great. And I think we have time probably for one more question. A question possibly for Kenia, or it could be for anyone actually. Obviously you covered in the presentation how you targeted female audiences for female products, but we have to know a lot of females buy for a male product as well, so they could be buying for their other half or whatever. How do you approach that challenge?
So for that, I think it's more about the query that you do, right? So regardless of if you're a female or male, if you're looking for jerseys, well, I might be looking for a jersey online. So that will be tied more to the keyword that I use. And that's how we actually, like the majority of our ad spend is towards paid search. And then when we want to promote certain products, when we want to actually use more brand and push that piece of awareness, then we will go more towards the segmentation on the social side of things. So just to briefly answer that question, I think it's more or less what you are searching for, regardless of the gender. And then we have bit modifiers that are applied to the gender as well. So they are running on at the same time.
Great. Thank you very much, Kenia. Appreciate that. I think that's all the questions we have in for the moment, folks. So that leaves us finishing on time, which is great. If I could just thank everybody, first of all, and thank you to Kenia, to Roisin, to Mark for your time today. Everybody has given up their time and given their time to prepare for the presentation, as well as our committee and the team in REI. So thank you so much to everybody. We really appreciate it. We have 2 more webinars to remind you of. If you're registered for today, you're automatically registered for those. We would encourage you to please spread the word. If you enjoyed today's webinar, please mention it on social. Please encourage your colleagues and friends to attend if you think it would be of use to them. Our next 2 webinars, next Thursday, same time, 3 o'clock. We have core optimization are going to be taking us through conversion optimization and their PPC strategies for Meaghers Pharmacies. And then on the 30th at 3 o'clock as well on the Thursday, we'll be looking at how social media ads drive in-store sales and how they've tracked the results, and that's with Social Media Elite and Tony Keeley's. So we hope you can join us for those 2. You'll be able to watch everything back on YouTube as well. And thanks very much everybody again for your time today, and goodbye.